Good morning, and welcome to the light and love that is Unity of Lawrence on Zoom. We are so grateful you are joining us today. In Unity, we begin everything with prayer. So let's join our prayer chaplain for today, Sharon Dwyer, as we begin our service by opening to that divine presence we know is within us.
We come together today in gratitude for an opportunity to open our minds and hearts and to learn new ideas, to deepen our concepts, and to appreciate perspective and how important it is in our experience of our lives. So we are very grateful for this opportunity and we are blessed. And so it is. Amen.
Also, in Unity, we love to bring in energy through song. And so let's join Holly as she leads us in Get Ready, My Soul.
Good morning, Unity of Lawrence. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost and won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment here, to a new beginning here, and I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul.
And we are grateful for Holly and the joy and spirit that she brings to us with her gifts in song and music. And so, as we are settling into our service, let us take a deep breath in and release. And let's affirm together Unity's founding principle. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the source of all good. And our Unity of Lawrence vision, united in divine love and joy, we celebrate a peaceful and abundant world for all. And finally, our mission, we are a thriving spiritual community, sharing love, building bridges, and inspiring transformation. So, what a gift we have today in welcoming our guest speaker. And sorry, I have two scripts pulled up. Thank you. But first, music. Cindy Novello is an internationally touring musician and songwriter, yoga teacher, and meditation instructor, a lifelong spiritual seeker. Her interest in the world's mystical spiritual traditions, including music and teaching, in mystical Christianity, Buddhism, yoga philosophy, and Native American spirituality have shaped her music and teaching and provide the foundation for her own spiritual practice. She is a founder and owner of Cindy Novello Music Wellbeing Yoga, where she combines music, yoga, and mindfulness practices to help people find the magic, beauty, and grace in their everyday lives. You can learn more about Cindy and her work at www.cindynovello.com. Welcome to our own Cindy Novello.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you today. This first song is a song I wrote a few years ago when I was thinking about all the division in the world, all the injustice. I wanted to write a song to help us all heal and to bring some peace to the world. But when I sat down to write, what came out was actually a very personal prayer about what I might need to do to clean up my own side of the street. This is called Deliver Me. Deliver me, deliver me, tear down these walls, set my soul free, break through these chains of anger and fear, deliver me, Lord, deliver me. Wash my eyes, that I might see the eyes of my brother, his sorrow and need. Wash my ears, my sister to hear. Hold me near, Lord, deliver me. Deliver me, deliver me. Tear down these walls that blind, set my soul free. Break through these chains of anger and fear. Hold me near, Lord, deliver me. Deliver me from hatred and judgment. Free me from blindness, envy and greed. Fill me with kindness, compassion and peace. Rain down thy grace, deliver me. What a wondrous dream this world might be. Together we weave such a rich tapestry. Wash clean my heart, Lord, that I might see. So many roads to the mountaintop lead. Deliver me, deliver me. Tear down these walls, deliver me.
Her perfect words for today and every day. Thank you, Cindy. And as we get ready to hear a message delivered to us today and for us, we are grateful for Alex Kimball Williams, who is a multicultural artist, scientist, writer, and community organizer. Their work often focuses on ethnopolitics, cultural identity, and natural sciences. Kimball Williams is the recipient of the 2018 Martin Luther King Dreamers Award, and they are also depicted in the Women of Color mural installed on the Lawrence Public Library. Kimball Williams works as a researcher and consultant on issues of equity within public health and local government policy. Whether it's performing protest songs, guest teaching, or facilitating restorative conversations, Kimball Williams radically stirs up their community with their multicultural and scientific approach to issues of social and environmental justice. Welcome, Alex.
All right. Am I unmuted? I got some type of automatic request from there we go. Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle, for the introduction. I'm very happy to be here. I was telling the organizational crew that I've heard only great things about Unity of Lawrence, and this is my first time speaking and engaging with you all directly, and so this is really a great day. And thank you so much for reading my introduction. I'm realizing as you read it, my part of the mural that's on the library was defaced over the summer's protest times, and so that's actually no longer there. I'm just now kind of realizing I should probably update my bio. So yeah, just one of those things from 2020. But yeah, let me go ahead and get into my presentation. All right. So I was referred to you all, I believe, through Amy Yee, who is somebody that I had the pleasure of working with at KU on something called the Sawyer Seminars, which focused on chronic conditions across global Africa, which was just great for me because I'm super interested in medical activism and especially medical history, history in general, but medical history has a soft spot in my heart. And I enjoyed working with Amy, and it definitely led into my next position. I now work at the health department with health equity. And so if you have any questions related to medical activism or health equity, COVID, race-based health disparities, and more, I am definitely your go-to person, at least for Douglas County. And so, yeah, just an aside as we're talking about anti-racist spirituality and the things that we learned from 2020. So the first thing that I'll talk about is definitely the impacts of 2020. I think that there was a lot of revelations that were made clear in that year related to some of the inequities that we have related to health, class, race, geography, and more. I think that there was a lot of awareness building and as well as an increased capacity to be an accomplice. At the same time, when we had those increased capacities in the direction of good, we also had those increased capacities and a huge reallocation of wealth that may not be the most ethical reallocation. And we definitely had some strengthening and incitement of right wing and particular extreme right wing forces as well in our country. The next thing I'll talk about is the impacts that faith can have during times of crisis. There's actually a lot of advantages to faith and spirituality, particularly in times of crisis. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about what we can learn in terms of crisis from 2020 in regards to faith. And then we'll get into what anti-racist spirituality is. So 2020 definitely changed the social justice climate, and in addition to a number of other movements, social and environmental. I think as people were forced to self-isolate and in the spirit of the greater good and doing what was good for everyone's public health, people were also faced with social justice, climate justice, wealth inequities, and more. People were definitely attuned to news, and specifically they were looking at news sources and engaging with people that they were not typically engaging with under under normal conditions. People were definitely deviating from normal routines and had lost that regularity. And so people were definitely being exposed to new information. And for the first time, for a lot of people, they became engaged in world news. Especially in the US, we have a lot of folks who, they tend to just kind of stay within US news. And so a lot of those people were forced to look outside and see what was going on around the world. We also had these really, really big social justice, things that had happened. And there's so many more than just the four that I've uplifted here. But I did want to talk a little bit about these four. Breonna Taylor was very interesting to me because she worked in the medical field. So it was really troubling to see her get lost based on bias systems that we have been funding and upholding when she was literally on the ground in the front lines working against COVID with us. And so it was really hard seeing her get lost. And then, of course, knowing that Kentucky isn't really that far away, which is where she lived and died. And when we think about the history also of Kentucky being the 13th Confederate state, it's actually the state that's supposed to signify the central star on the Confederate flag. And so her loss was particularly felt. I work in the public health and medical field, and so that was really difficult. And then, of course, the fact that she was murdered in her home. That was very disturbing. We also had the loss of George Floyd, which notably got the most press. And what was interesting about his murder, there's a lot of really interesting things and really sad things, but it directly mirrored the loss of Eric Garner in 2014, who also said that he couldn't breathe for some of his dying words. And what was interesting is, we're in the midst of a respiratory disease-based pandemic, and then we have these things happening as well, definitely plowing through these much quicker than they deserve. But Ahmaud Arbery was another really big piece. What was interesting about his murder was that it did invoke Jim Crow era terrorism, especially the territorial and kind of hunting for sport kind of vibes that were definitely inherent in his case. And then we also had the loss of Christian Cooper. And that was very interesting because, you're dealing with someone who was murdered as a result of, or he wasn't actually murdered, but if we invoke the history of Emmett Till, who was murdered as a result of false accusations, Christian Cooper was, could have very well met that same fate had it been 1955, and still Black folks today meet that fate. And he ended up being very lucky. And I think the other interesting thing about the Christian Cooper case is that Amy Cooper, who was his attacker, they share the same surname. And we think about the history of Black folks in the U.S. How did they come across English surnames? How did I get my English surname as well, coming from a Kimball plantation? And so that was a very interesting case that I wanted to bring up. So much about what happened in 2020 was actually a lot of parallels with the past. I think a lot of people regard it as the wake-up call, and I would definitely argue that it wasn't for a lot of people. For a lot of people, it was a continuation, and there was definitely the heat was raised, but it was not necessarily this wake-up call out of nowhere that I think a lot of people in places of privilege were able to view it as. In 2020, we also saw a lot of removal of monuments, renaming of locations and buildings that were previously named for people who owned slaves. And we also saw a lot of long-needed brand reviews, particularly a lot of press around the Washington football team, but also Land O'Lakes and Uncle Ben's Aunt Jemima's, to name a few. We also saw parallels in the pandemic with COVID-19. A lot of past pandemics were referenced. We had extensive review of the 1918 flu, which I think in some ways supported our relating of this to just the modern day flu. And then we also had comparisons to recent events like H1N1. And as we look through this comparative lens now in January 2021, I had put this presentation together before the insurrection of this month. We have all of these events that I just went through with Breonna Taylor, Christian Cooper, George Floyd, all of this in comparison now to what the lack of police force and political opposition that there really was to that insurrection that we saw this month. In addition, we also had parallels with religious history. We have a lot of examples in the past of the church and people that were church going, mobilizing resources and providing informal sanctuaries and providing money. And also this idea around archives and record keeping that was very important with the church. And so I do have this link. I'm going to share my slides with Unity so that folks can read more. But there's this really fascinating link that explores extensively the history of social movements as tied to religion in American history. And I thought that the one piece that I would look at, if you're not going to read the whole site, would definitely be to look at the Great Depression and how the church supported with providing public education and mental health support during those times. In history, we also have churches influencing voter base and carrying a lot of media weight and public perception shifting. And I'm blowing through these because I know I only have 15 minutes, and there's quite a bit of verbiage on these slides so that as you're going back through the slides, if you want to view them later, you can really get in detail. But I want to go over some of the benefits of faith. It helps to provide a hopeful lens. It helps provide regularity and coping mechanisms and rituals for people that are thrown off of their regular routine. It also provides a point of connectedness between people. People can be connected through prayer, music, walking outside, religious gatherings, virtual gatherings, meditation, and so forth. Um, and I think I'll just go ahead and go past this. There's also some negatives as well with faith in times of crisis. A lot of people feel and felt angry about the tragedies and the huge losses of life. The other part of faith in times of crisis that could be negative is the lack of accountability and what we call religious deferral, where if you put everything in God's hands, then you don't have to take personal responsibility for your own health and also your culpability within the realm of public health. We also had some churches that held services in defiance of the physical distancing guidelines as a way to express political or religious views, not only around the pandemic, but also the election. And then also we have people that struggle with morals, people that work particularly in the healthcare division as they're making decisions that may lead to somebody living or dying. That can be really difficult to deal with, especially if you have a very, very strong moral base that may be dictated differently than what the way that your work would like you to work. So I just wanted to go over a couple of those. Anti-racist spirituality is definitely the title of this talk because we're talking about, what can we learn from the past of how the church has interacted with social movements, and also how can we realize the privilege within a lot of church spaces and at church adjacent spaces. Definitely looking at dismantling harmful paradigms around, how do we get people to act in certain ways? How do we influence morals and ethics? And I think for a lot of religions, there's this difficulty around the paradigms of innocence and guilt, honor and shame, power and fear, and how we end up with the privilege dynamics that we do within a lot of church spaces. And so moving forward, definitely there's been a lot of radicalization in 2020, which is actually a good thing. I think we have this bad perception of the word radical. And so I provided just a couple brief definitions of what it really means. And it means going to the bottom of things or to the basis or the foundation. And I think especially for people that go to church really, really frequently, it definitely is a foundation for them, and just realizing that influence that church does have. A couple of the things that we learned from 2020 and the aftermath that was very positive. A lot of folks went back to the drawing board and explored alternatives that previously they weren't interested in or they had no reason to be forced to look into. We also had a lot of, I talked a little bit about the reallocation of wealth. There was a lot of things that were funded and supported that were not funded or supported before. And we also had intense collaboration, particularly around the COVID-19 vaccine. That was unprecedented scientific collaboration that happened to generate that. We also had the continued normalization of anti-racism. All of a sudden, corporations and organizations, institutions, businesses, and people that previously took no political stance or were nervous to based on their clients or their consumer base began normalizing this and operationalizing it even in their operations. And I think that was really powerful, especially, for if we go back to 2014, 2016, this movement's been happening for a while, and it seemed that 2020 was the straw that broke the camel's back kind of moment. I'm not going to get too much into this because I know that time is going to end, but I did want to provide this on the slides. I think that there's a lot of questions around, well, what are the intersections specifically of spirituality, culture, and social justice? And so I definitely wanted to put this on my slides. There's a lot of overlap. And this is why I definitely speak to this topic quite a bit. And I do workshops around American Indian spirituality and religions. I talk about different things within feminisms and colonialist, anti-colonialist, and decolonialist frameworks. And so this is just a quick Venn diagram to kind of show my suggestions of where the overlaps, just a couple of examples of what the overlaps might be. The piece that I will pull up is, within spirituality, social justice, and culture, there's this ability for church and church adjacent spaces to positively influence ethics. I think a lot of times spiritual and religious spaces tend to focus on morals and spiritual values and beliefs, but there's definitely a lot of room for ethics work. And that's just the one piece I'll leave you with from this slide. And this is something from the National Education Association. I often look at education materials and education studies materials for religious and spiritual learning and things that we can take from that, because it's essentially, there's essentially the same thing. There's different parts of this visual that I really like. I like that it divides things up that you could be doing in terms of anti-racist work in the realm of awareness building, capacity building, and room for action. And I like that it breaks it down and it has examples of what those could be. So going back to the awareness, the green circle under values and beliefs, taking those values and beliefs and building people's capacity to act on those things, and then within action, actually acting on them. And so this is a really great visual for thinking about ways to take what you already know and put it into action. There was also additional movements in 2020. I won't go over all of them, but I definitely wanted to include them here. I think that the big focus obviously was on healthcare and racism, and those definitely deserve all of the focus. We also had lots of other things that happened in 2020. I believe it was the 50th anniversary of Pride Month. We had a lot of climate justice things going on as well. And of course, I think a lot of people may remember the mail-in voting and the debate around that, and the barriers to voting that were definitely uplifted during the pandemic times, as if, because things were already difficult before for people to vote, and it's as if they were made more difficult. And then we also had the issues at the border with forced mastectomies and things like hysterectomies that happened, and issues, of course, with law enforcement that we saw. So thank you very much. I know that I blew through some things, and we can definitely, in our discussion, I can go back to a slide if you have any questions. I put my contact information here, as well as my social media information. I do post pretty frequently about these topics. Also my cell phone. If you're old school and you're not on the social media and you don't do email, or you don't do good on email, you can call me. So my number is there. You can text me. And then Shin Kahalakuk is thank you in my tribe's language. Great. Awesome. So thank you for giving me a little bit of your time today. Definitely, if there's room for discussion and people would like to talk or share, and they would like to do so here, that would be great. Or we can always connect. I'll also put my contact information. Well, actually, the organizers have my contact information, so you can always reach out to them if you'd like it. But now, leading us into a few minutes of meditation together. I know that I went through a lot of information, and people may have wanted me to go deeper into certain things, and people may have wanted me to go deeper into other things, whatever was sticking out to you. And so I definitely encourage you to check out the slides and to continue learning. But as we're digesting this information and opening up the day, the Sunday, and thinking about all of the things that have happened, even though 2021, we're only 2 weeks into it, and also reflecting on all of 2020, which my presentation did focus on. I'd like to lead us in a few minutes of meditation on that.
Alex, if you could unmute, I believe we'll be able to hear you.
Yeah, I was just typing into the chat. I guess I was kind of thinking it was going to be a silent meditation. I'm sorry for that.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's
Yeah,
okay.
no. I can certainly keep talking about things to meditate on for sure. I definitely encourage people to engage in breathing exercises and do things that are healthy for you during meditation, especially with the respiratory disease running rampant in our communities. Anything you can do to improve your lung health and meditate and reduce your stress is very important during these times. You can do the pursed lip breathing. There's a couple of different kinds of breathing exercises. But yeah, definitely meditating on the significant losses. That's something that's been weighing really heavy on my heart, just knowing how many people are not with us right now, way more than the normal rate of loss. So that's something that weighs heavy, I think, on quite a few of us, as it should. And I think that not only the loss of life, but of I'm a teacher as well, and I think about people's potentials and the things that they needed to be able to do and interact with us. And so that's definitely really really huge. And we're not out of that rate of loss just yet. And so that's incredibly stressful, and so, anytime that you can come together and meditate and gather and see each other and reduce your stress is just wonderful. Um, Other things to meditate on, of course, is a lot of changes happening right now, and even when they're good changes, they can still be really stressful. You know, even myself personally, as a Black and Native person, defunding the police and a lot of these other calls that have been made, they're really great. And with that comes a lot of stress as well, and a lot of reflecting on experiences. I think a lot of people are feeling cheated, and I think that for a lot of folks who have been very vocal about social justice and environmental justice and political reform and police reform, are feeling like, oh wow, I've been talking about this for so many years, or I'm old enough to remember the last time that civil rights era and Jim Crow and things like that were changed, and just feeling this like, oh wow, we're going through this again, or I've been talking about this for a long time and now people are finally getting on board. It can feel like you've been cheated, or like precious time was lost, or that change could have happened sooner. And that's another kind of loss for sure. So definitely meditating on the losses, the stress that comes with change, and the fact that we're dealing with all of these changes at home in a really weird, socially isolated way, socially distanced way. Some of us are really good about staying socially connected during these times. And a lot of the digital inequities that have been elevated as well. Not everybody has access to join virtual meetings. And or the time, there's a lot of essential workers who are continuing to work very full schedules in addition to homeschooling their children if they have them. And so this is just a really difficult time to stay connected and to continue learning about these topics. So sorry, I didn't realize I was supposed to talk through the meditation before, but I'm glad I could lead you through a few minutes of dedicated thought.
Thank you so much. We are grateful and enriched with all that you've shared with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving me some time today, your precious time this weekend. I know that we're all overworked and over zoomed in a lot of ways, and so I really appreciate being able to share out, and definitely looking forward to the communications and people asking questions.
And we'll have time for that after the service for those who are able. Now we look forward to hearing more music from our guest musician, Cindy Novello.
I wrote this song as an invitation for everyone to come together, recognizing that this is our common home. It's called Come to the Table. Come to the table. Come as you're able. Come every color. ages, all countries, all stories, all life. Come to the table with story and fable. Lay down your sorrow, your heartache, your fear. With this bread I am pleading, come one, come all. There is nothing between us, no chasm, no wall. We will drink of this wine till we're drunk with forgiveness, till the things that divide have blurred from our vision. Come to the table, your heart here I cradle. Give me your troubles, your labor, your worries, your water, your wine. Come to the table, sip from my ladle. Feed me your hopes, all your dreams, as together we dine. Come to the table with story and fable. No need to keep seeking, the kingdom is near, it is here, remembering Eden, the fruits held within. Drink from these waters and know we are kin. Will you drink as I'm drinking? Will you speak as I'm speaking? Will your breath be in me as mine is in you? In each heart I am beating, I'm the solace you're seeking. Come to this table, I'm calling you home. Come to this table, this is your home.
So grateful for the messages of both our speaker and our guest musician. As Alex was talking to us, I was envisioning our tree of life in our sanctuary and all of the movements as all of those branches, and yet all centered in one source, the trunk that drives its roots deep in the soil, and that as we water those roots fully, how even deeper we can go. I'm grateful for this community, and now it is time for giving and thanks and offering. So I invite you to join me as we hold our gifts well watered in our soul to this community and in our hands and love in our hearts. Let's affirm together: divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. And now we get to join Holly in singing Return Again by Shayna Knoll. And as we do so, it's an opportunity to go online and give via PayPal or write a check and mail it to Unity of Lawrence. I have my PayPal set up automatically, so I don't even have to think about it. It's a grateful thing to have technology to do that. So let's join Holly in singing Return Again.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to what you are, return to who you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
We use the powerful tool of gratitude as we assimilate and try to absorb some of the ideas that Alex brought to us, which we can turn into action and fruitful endeavor. We use the power of gratitude as we come together to support this, our spiritual community. And we are grateful for all the opportunities that are brought to us now. And so it is. Amen.
Into the world. When Jesus sent his disciples out into the world, he counseled them to say peace to this house before crossing any threshold. I love that idea. And I thought what a beautiful thing that would be to have in mind whenever we not just entered into someone's home, but entered into a conversation with another person, whenever we were meeting with anybody to celebrate or grieve or discuss whatever it was, protest, whatever it is we were doing, if we first said peace to this house. And I also like thinking about our own bodies, our own beings, this temple in which we live as our home. So saying peace to myself, but also peace to the space and peace to the other person. So this is called Peace to This House. It's my prayer for each of us and for the world. Peace to this house. This is my fervent hope. Peace to this house, even on the darkest road. Peace to this world. This is the only prayer I know. Peace to this house. Peace to this house. Peace to this world. This is my fervent dream. Peace to this world. There is a light that I have seen. Peace to this heart. A temple shining I will be. Peace to this world. Peace to this world. Peace to this heart. This is my fervent song. Peace to this heart. I
what a perfect song to sing now of all times, as tomorrow we honor a peaceful man marching for peaceful equality and room for everyone at the table. Well, it is announcement time. And a big announcement that we have is that our church annual meeting is scheduled for Sunday, January 31st. Please plan on staying on the Zoom after service for this important congregational meeting. Members will vote on the new board members, the 2021 budget, and review 2020. Mark your calendars for this important date. Also, join us next week as we co-host with High Impact Strategies, LLC, to present a diversity, equity, and inclusion workshop titled, What Are You Thinking? Implicit Bias, the Association Between Thoughts and Actions. The workshop is next Sunday, January 24th from 11 to 12:30. Please note this will be in place of our regular service and will be at a different Zoom link that is posted on our website. And this Zoom link will be listed in the e-news and Sunday morning reminder for that week. So again, next service is a workshop that will be from 11 to 12:30. Plan on attending this very important event brought to you by our Social Justice Committee. And now it is time to bless our youth and ourselves as we rub our hands together in loving energy. And we say, let us bless our youth and each other. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. And now let's sing the original peace song with Steve Epley.
Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, children all are we. Let us walk with each other, perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me.
And as we breathe in that song and prayer of peace, let us say our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God washes over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is swell. We invite our speaker and others to stay online for a few moments after to visit via Zoom as able. Be well, and we will see you next Sunday.